Hey everyone, back for another video. Sorry I've been gone for like 2 days now, and wanted to give my review for Thor: Love and Thunder because I just saw it like an hour ago, and I want to give my thoughts on it. First, non spoiler. The movie I think has a lot of good parts, a lot of bad parts. Mostly that, like, it has like some parts of like the comedy that I wasn't like the biggest fan of. I think that some jokes lasted too long, and I'll get into some of them in spoilers. Uh, and I thought that the villain was treated not the best. Like, I liked him, but I liked Christian Bale as like Gore the God Butcher, because Gore the God Butcher is one of my favorite Marvel villains in like the comics mostly. Um, and how they did him, I wasn't the biggest fan of. It wasn't bad, but it's just like I just think they didn't do him justice, and I'll get into why in spoilers. Um, let's see. Korg was not. He didn't really like serve that much. Like, he did some things, and there was a surprise mostly with him that we thought was gonna happen, but didn't. Um, Valkyrie was pretty entertaining. I liked Valkyrie in this movie. She wasn't like as big as a deal as she was in Thor Ragnarok. Let's see. Jane Foster. I'm gonna say some things on her. I really enjoyed her. I think they actually did her version of Thor better than the comic did, and they executed it better. And it's mostly the same points from the comic, so people who like read that those comics would probably know what happens to her. Um, Thor himself, I thought was great. I liked him. You know, Chris Hemsworth is usually always good as Thor. Um, he was a lot. He was comedic as usual. His arc I thought was interesting, but I think that the thing with self discovery, I thought he already discovered himself, but I don't know. This is after Endgame, so I don't know. But what they do with him, I like mostly. It's called Thor: Love and Thunder for a reason. They kind of go into a lot of relationships actually that are mostly realistic. That mostly like talk about. They mostly talk about also Thor and Jane Foster's relationship and how it's like mostly started. It was like with Korg, and then how it ended. And I actually was like, that's kind of realistic though, because sometimes they can drift apart, but then they could come back, you know. And that's the thing. And I actually did like that part. Let's see, because I'm just going off the top of my head so I can remember. The action is actually pretty cool. I liked the one of the scenes I did like was the black and white part, and it's in the trailer mostly. So all I can say is, for non spoiler part, is that it's a pretty cool scene in general, because like the whole thing was black and white for like, I think I want to say like probably like a few minutes, not for like too long, but it was really cool. Um, and I also want to say the plot I thought was interesting, but I think it also had some minor problems, you know, and I just think that the Thor: Love and Thunder, I did enjoy it, I really did, but it felt like there were some things that were like, it didn't feel like some parts of it really did work for me, and I'll get into the reason why. But I did, and let's just be clear, I don't think this is a bad movie. I don't think this is a bad movie at all. I think it has a lot of great things in it, but there's a lot of problems with it also. And The visuals are mostly good. They're great. There's some parts that I felt were a little iffy. The action scenes were pretty good. What can I say that's not a spoiler? Um, the soundtrack was also pretty good. I like the Ragnarok soundtrack way better because it's the Ragnarok soundtrack was so 80s and so good that I just think that it's one of my favorite Marvel soundtracks in general. This one was by Michael Giacchino. Obviously, Michael Giacchino does every Marvel movie now, basically. And I really did like his soundtrack, but I don't think it like beats the Batman soundtrack he did, because that Batman soundtrack for me was the best Batman soundtrack that I've listened to for in a while now. But it's not a review about Batman. Let's review about Thor. And let's see. I would say that I really did like Russell Crowe as Zeus. Russell Crowe's Zeus to me is always what I thought Zeus would act like, and it's really funny. And I'm like, because Russell Crowe, he's mostly in a lot of serious stuff. Like, he's been in Gladiator, he's been in like a lot of like really good stuff, but he's mostly like serious. He's not really like as, I would say, comedic, and because I also never first seen him in Man of Steel, even if he was not in as much, he was really good in that. Personally, I liked him. I don't know. I know there's some people who don't like Man of Steel as much, but whatever. And there's some surprises, like the plot, like what Gore's motivation is and what he's trying to do. It's pretty crazy and pretty big deal, like what it is. And I'm gonna get into that. Okay, and now I'm gonna get to the spoiler parts in 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. So Gore is trying to get in contact with Eternity. Like, literally, Marvel Eternity. The guy with the galaxies all over him. That one. And what he basically, because Gore's daughter dies in the beginning, right? Like, they come, except they don't mention his wife. I thought that was odd. They didn't mention his wife because one of the things, actually, I'm just going to go into the beginning part, actually. The Gore opening scene, I really liked. And him also meeting with the god. It's very different origin for him. Because he worships his god, right? And we know in the comics he doesn't worship gods because he didn't think they're real. He's an atheist, basically. And 2 gods fell down on his earth in the comics, right? One of them was a god that was like golden, and it was like had Katsuna's power. And the other one that had the necro sword was Null, as we know, because we find that out in 2018 in the Venom comic. So, because necro sword was created by Null, but they don't. Let's say that they have a god. They didn't really give it a name, but it was Gore's god, and he was saying that he was worthless, and there could be other worshippers, other people that would worship him. And Gore wanted an honorable death, and the guy didn't give that to him. And they showed the body of the guy, the original guy who had the necro sword. They don't say it created him. It created. So, and like, because it seems like the sword also is like talking to him or something. And it makes some sense because the sword is a living sword, but they don't mention that at all. So I don't know, maybe because we know the necro sword in a way is this for symbiote, but they don't mention symbiotes. They don't even say names. They say something really weird. I don't know if this is true or not, but I think the origin of the necro sword in this is like it's from the shadow realm. That's what I got. Because, like, Gore in the movie, he, like, goes, like, under shadows. Like, he kind of, like, he kind of reminded me of the Shadow Man from Rise of the Guardians or something. I don't know why. He reminded me of Pitch for some odd reason. Like, actually, he actually does have a lot of Pitch similarities. Huh. That's kind of strange, actually. Anyway, the point is, also Gore in general. Like I like Kristen Bell as Gore because Kristen Bell is a great actor in general, and I just want to say also that Gore, they changed him a lot. Where sometimes I feel that he was kind of unrecognizable for me. Not in like design, but like where he's like how his motivation, like how he acts. I'm okay with him being a little dark comedic, a little bit like comedic, but like a little terrifying. Like he was freaky, you know. But I didn't feel that they really gave the personality of Gore like he is in the comics, where he's a threatening, gives a actual like his motivation makes somewhat sense to kill gods, and that's because they there's no real reason to have them because people can also look kind of like defend for themselves and also like make it like a civilization for themselves. They don't need to rely on gods anymore. And and even if they try to pray to them, they're not going to really do anything. In the comics, Thor, he does kill Gore, and Gore doesn't get a wish to get his daughter back. That doesn't happen. And Thor like tries to be different than other gods and try to like actually basically under like try to like when people pray, he goes to them and helps them, and it like shows that like Thor is trying to be not a selfish god. He's selfless, and I like that idea a lot. I really do like that. I wish they did it in this movie, but they didn't do that at all. The other reason, because they kind of do, I would say they do a redemption at the end with Gore. They did this with the Mandarin. They did this with Scarlet Witch. Let's see, what else did they do it with? I want to say that they mostly did it with also the Black Widow villain that I do not like talking about because it pissed me off so much. But it's to say something with Fake Master. That's what I'm calling him. Sorry. Fake Master. Alright? They kind of do redemption for that also. Like, I've noticed that Marvel these days now is always on redeeming characters a lot. And that's fine, but I feel like there's some of them that I feel they don't need one. And Gore is the one that I don't think needs one. Because him breaking his daughter back, I feel like kind of I just don't think it... I think it's a really interesting thing to do, but I don't think it really works for Gore because of how, like, what he is in the comics. He's a danger. He is, like, and he's called Gore the God Butcher. But they didn't really show him butchering gods. Like, only, like, the opening scene. Like, yes, they did show the aftermath of it, but they don't, like... Because, the Guardians of the Galaxy, because they show it, like... Because Guardians of the Galaxy, yes, they're in the movie, but really in the opening scene. And... Basically, they show that, oh, Gore is killing gods, but it's like, they don't really show that much of it. It's really just in that scene. And I wish that they did it more. I wish that they actually like show him butchering gods in his name. It's in his name. And like I said, I think that there was a lot of potential with Gore the God Butcher, and I don't need to see him in any other movie. That I was always knew he was gonna die. I always knew he was gonna die. He's not even alive in the comics anyway. But I think that. Yeah, I want to say mostly my main problem is with Gore and how they changed him so much and they try to make him really sympathetic and not like what I think Gore, like what he's supposed to be. And I know there's some characters that Marvel can change for the best, but I feel like some of the changes Marvel's been doing with some of these characters I'm not really like the biggest fan of. With some of these villains, like, they keep on doing it. Like, Taskmaster is one that I just absolutely hated. And I'm not gonna... that's a whole nother video. I can talk about many reasons why I hate that. Gore is not as bad, but I feel that they really should have done him in the comic, giving him that reason. So then they can also say the popular line, Gore was right. And I would love to see that. but they didn't really do that. I don't know if it's because, oh, it would have been like Thanos, they didn't want to do something like that. I don't know, because Thanos wasn't a sympathetic villain at all. And I don't know if they were just like, oh, it'd be too much like Thanos or something. I don't know. But I feel that they really should have done that. But, and also, I want to talk about Jane Foster, because Jane Foster, what they do with her, I really, really liked. Because with her getting Thor's powers, they explain that basically, and it's not because she's, well, she kind of is worthy, but it's not like in the way you think it is, where like, oh, she picks up the hammer, she's worthy. It's not like that. So basically, Thor accidentally put like a wish into Mjolnir to protect Jane Foster. And I think when she went to the remains of the hammer that was like displayed in New Asgard, she gets the power of Thor, you know, because the Mjolnir was like its whole purpose that Thor gave, like what Odin said, that oh, only people who like are worthy to wield his hammer shall possess the power of Thor. He did the same thing with Mjolnir, but Thor accidentally said that made Mjolnir have purpose to also like to protect Jane Foster and also, you know, bestow her power, and that's the way to do it. And that's why she looks like Thor also. And I actually like that idea. I think that's really interesting. It's not like she's actually worthy. She like lifts it up, you know. And I like that idea a lot, actually. It's very, very interesting. And it kind of goes to the rules with the first Thor movie, I feel. And also, I was not the biggest fan mostly of how she looked. I feel like the helmet looked a little fake sometimes. And it just sometimes didn't like look right until with like the full cost. Sometimes it looks like they put it a green screen on her, and like even how her head was looked really weird sometimes. But it's not as bad as the Thor helmet they had in like one scene. Like, oh dear God, it was so bad. That Thor helmet, it was so, that Thor helmet, thank God it was only one scene. That helmet was awful. Anyway, I also want to say, I like also when the hammer, it's like it breaks into pieces, and I like how it comes back. Like it like disassembles and like comes back together like that. I love that the hammer that does that. I think that's such a cool idea and really cool thing to do, that I'm just like, I would totally be okay with Thor's hammer just like staying like that. I don't want it to just be like slam hammer, shoots lightning. I want it to like disassemble like that, because I love that. I love that. I think that's so cool. And also, they do, in the movie, they do make Jane Foster and Thor get back together. Not for that long, because if you got, and like I said in the beginning, if you read comics, all of you would know that Jane Foster has cancer. And they talk about that. She's in phase 4, and I heard that phase 4 is like the state where it's like you are in the worst state. You know, you're in the final. And the surprising part is that you might think, oh, the hammers make her healthier. No, actually it's not. It's actually making her weaker. So the more she uses it, she will die, basically. And I thought, and that was most of the idea of the comic, but she lasted way longer as Thor for like probably like 3 years, I think. Because the thing is, I remember she became Thor in like, I think 2015 or so, like around that time, and then she like stopped being Thor around, I want to say 2019. She's a Valkyrie now in the comics. She came back, but I kind of want to, because also another thing, she does die in the movie, and it was really sad how she died. But I kind of, and they show post-credit scene of her going to Valhalla, and we see Heimdall. That was pretty cool, but I want to say that I think she should stay dead, because I think it will ruin her death in general. So, yeah, maybe she will come back, probably. I wouldn't be surprised, but because why would they show her in Valhalla? but also I want to say also that, like, yeah, Jane Foster was really cool. I don't want to hear those anti SAWs. Get out of here, all right? I don't want to hear you guys say that oh my god, she saved Thor. It's a female. I don't want to hear any of that crap. Get out of here, all right? And also, like I said, I do not want to hear that. I hate that they hate with this female Thor thing, all right? I don't want to hear it, okay? And I swear to God, if any of you try to do anything like that in these comments, you're not watching. You're gonna be banned, all right? But we're not going into that anyway. That's toxic material. Anyway, the point is also I really liked how they did it. I think they made it also a lot more natural of her being a Lady Thor, basically, or Mighty Thor. That's what they also call her. And I think there also is nothing wrong with her calling Mighty Thor as much. Like, I was, like, kind of worried that they were going to, like, kind of do it in a way that I didn't like it. But they actually did it in a really cool way, actually. I like how she said it in the end. Like, she, like, gave that whole, like, phrase. And I still wonder what she said to Thor, that catchphrase that she whispered in Thor's ear before she died. I still wonder what she said. I don't know if we'll ever find out. But, anyway, that's not the point. The point is that also, yeah, Jane Foster does not last as Thor as much in this movie. I thought they would have used her a lot more in other later movies, but no, they are not. She just dies in this movie, and I wish they also developed this part of her getting cancer more. I wish they did. They didn't fully. Like I said, I did enjoy it, but I feel like they should have developed it more to flesh it out more. You know, I knew she was gonna. I had a feeling. If they talked about the cancer parts a lot more in this movie, it made me think that, oh yeah, she might die. And I didn't actually think Thor would, like, I didn't think, like, and actually, originally, I didn't actually think she was going to actually die in this movie. But when they mentioned it a lot in this movie, I'm like, oh my god, is she actually going to die in this movie? Like, wow, like, when they just brought her back, she just dead. But, yeah, also, Thor did not die at all in this movie. So people who said, oh, Thor's going to die in this movie, nope, he did not die. He is totally fine. They even say in the movie, Thor will return. So, there you go. And, yeah, I want to also say that I also liked the first post-credit scene, because, oh, we need to talk about that. Oh, yes, Hercules, guys. Hercules is in the MCU now. Yes! Oh, and that was cool. Like, that part, I was like, yes! They did mention him in the beginning, though, so I was like, if I swear to God, if the Hercules is in the post-credits, I'm gonna freak. And I did, obviously, because why wouldn't you? It's Hercules! You know, or Hercules, whatever. Marvel, they say Hercules, so it doesn't fully matter. We know that's the Roman name, but they say it that way. Yeah, I'm definitely also excited to see Hercules, because he looks perfect. He looks exactly the same as Marvel Comics. So don't expect any, like, he looks like it's a realistic version of the comic one. It mostly just looks the same, just looks a lot more detailed, really. That's really all they did. And then there's nothing wrong with that. It looks great. He looked great. And so I'm really excited for it. I'm guessing we're going to see Thor versus Hercules. And maybe he'll turn good later on. And, you know, I still am hoping. I'm crossing my fingers for Beta Ray Bill. I'm waiting patiently for it, because Beta Ray Bill is such a cool Thor character. And they have Stormbreaker. And I just, I want Beta Ray Bill. But off topic. That's off topic. But the point is, Hercules is now in the MCU. We're going to get him later. And also try to make it out to that, like, Thor technically killed Zeus. He, like, threw his lightning bolt at him, you know, and boom, went through him. But I was like, oh, there's no way Zeus is dead by like that, you know. And he was still alive. And we're clearly going to see more of him later. And yeah, well, because also I want to talk about what was it called? I think it was called the place, because also Thor and his allies try to also go to, like, the other gods. So they can fight Gore. but they're all almost all of them are lazy. I was actually kind of hoping they showed Khonshu because I thought that would have been really cool. Because I love Moon Knight, and also I thought, hey, look, we have Egyptian gods. They mentioned Ra in the movie, so I kind of hoped that we got something with Khonshu in this movie, but we didn't, and that's fine. But I thought it would have been really cool if they did. But yeah, because also they had Celestials. They had like 2 Celestials in this movie. I thought that was crazy. Like they just casually showed them, and there was like a Chinese dragon. So I guess it's one of those dragon gods. I heard there was a dragon god in Chinese mythology, and I'm gonna look into that after this. And they had Bast in the movie for a little bit. They don't like, she doesn't have dialogue, but I saw her. There's a lot of gods I think that were in there from different mythologies that there's probably even a breakdown on it. How, like, which gods were in that whole scene. But yeah, I also thought that God City was really, really cool idea. I originally thought it was gonna be Olympus, but it wasn't, and that's fine. I'm guessing Olympus still exists. I think just Zeus rules over also this God city, and or like this, like a god planet or city. It's kind of like a city. They didn't really like make it look like a planet. It's kind of like a big city of where gods are. So, and chill. So, that's mostly so. And the only gods that, when I think about it, that really care about humanity is Khonshu and Thor. I just realized that, and also maybe Tarot also. Yeah. So basically, like 3, and I think that's pretty funny, and pretty cool, And I'm glad that they actually care about us. Thank God. Not thank God, like, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I would say that, like I said, the movie, because I want to close off my thoughts, because that's mostly what I want to say, because, maybe I can say some things about the necro sword, and then I'll end it here. I'll end it after that. Sorry, I didn't mean to end it here, but you know what I mean. Blah. Necro sword, I want to say, they do not talk about the origin of the necro sword. They say it like the necro sword has been passed down to many people, and that's different. And they don't say how it was made or anything, so it gives me hope that we'll get some indication of Null in some way. I don't know if Sony's gonna let them. I hope they do, because Sony should realize that they suck ass at their movies, and that Sony should realize just let them do your Spider-Man characters, for God's sake. Let them do Null. If you let them do Null, you have a good thing on your hands, all right? Just saying. So they don't fully indicate who created it. They don't say some different name. They just say Necros has been passed down generations. They have these shadow monsters or something. They don't call them symbiotes. But I think that they can make it that way eventually. Because some of the Black Berserkers, that's what they're called in the comics, and I know that's what they are in this. Some of them did look like Venom. And it made me kind of believe they probably did that on purpose to kind of mostly, I think, reference the symbiotes and also its original origin. So I'm crossing my fingers that the Necro Sword, like, we find out who created it, and some indication of symbiotes, because we had that little piece of symbiote in Spider-Man No Way Home, and we know that's gonna make Spider-Man have the black suit, and possibly Venom, some version of Venom. I'm guessing maybe Agent Venom. That's my guess, but I'm hoping, and I'm crossing my fingers for that. Because, like I said, they don't really give a full origin of the Necro Sword. So it makes me hope that eventually one day we will get our symbiotes and Null. But anyway, one more thing, actually. The ending of the movie. Gore dies, obviously, but he gives a wish to Eternity that he wanted his daughter back. And he does get his daughter back. I originally thought, he was going to go with her in this maybe some heaven in Valhalla. Son. That's what I assumed, but that's not what happened. She actually is alive, played by actually Chris Hemsworth's daughter. Actually, surprisingly, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, she survives, and Thor takes care of her as like a father. You know, that because he actually is a father, because you know it's actually his daughter, and she gets Stormbreaker and he gets Mjolnir, and I thought that was really cool. And they call him Love and Thunder, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And yeah, I think they say she has the powers, like she's like somewhat the daughter of eternity, because he brought her back, and I think she has powers. I guess that's what I thought. But yeah, the ending was very interesting. I'm curious what they're gonna do with her, if they will even bring her back. I'm guessing they will, but yeah, I'm very curious what the future of like they're gonna really do with Thor after this, because he's gonna come back, and yeah, I would say overall I would probably give this movie probably a 9 or an 8. It's not my favorite Phase 4 movie. Spider-Man No Way Home's always going to be my favorite. It's always going to be a 10 out of 10 for me. So I'm going to say Thor is better than Doctor Strange. But not my favorite Marvel movie. But it is, I want to say a 9 or an 8. So it's not a bad movie. It has a lot of problems. It does have some problems. But it's still a great movie, I think, overall. Anyway, that's what I thought of Thor: Love and Thunder. I'll try to do another video maybe tomorrow, but I'm gonna see what happens tomorrow if I feel like it. Anyway, see you guys next time.